Hello and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my living room. That's right, today I'm only feeling halfway productive because I did put makeup on just for you, but I didn't feel like setting up the filming room. So I need to get some more footage though because I am falling behind again. It has been a really busy summer. Today we're going to talk about tropes again. Enough people enjoyed my tropes I dislike in fantasy video for me to feel like I could do a tropes I dislike in other genres that I enjoy reading. Because who doesn't like talking about tropes they hate? The cats are fighting off screen. Will you two get along? No. Nigel was forced to leave. So today we are going to talk about one of my other most enjoyed genres, and that is thrillers. I know, it's such a weird thing. Like, I like fantasy and I like thrillers. There's other things I like as well, but like fantasy and thrillers are probably my most read genres right now at this point in my life. I think because the two genres are so opposite, it works really well. If I read too many thrillers, I get in a slump and I need something really opposite like fantasy to get me out of it, and vice versa. My favorite type of thrillers are closed circle thrillers where characters are trapped somewhere, and my least favorite are domestic thrillers. I didn't actually come up with too many hated tropes, because the thing about thrillers is that they are very, very tropey on purpose. People don't tend to go to a thriller for new innovation. They want to see how the author is using the tried and true thriller tropes to their best advantage. And so, in general, to enjoy thrillers is to enjoy the tropes that come along with thrillers. Not that you can never subvert them or not use them if you are writing a thriller, it's just that the things that make up a thriller are so solidly locked in with certain tropes and story beats that it's pretty much what you see, or at least what I've seen so far. If you want to give me a thriller that doesn't follow any of these like guidelines, please send it my way. But I did come up with a few, and they're not really in any specific order, so let's just go through them, shall we? The first one is mental illness as the plot twist slash the reason the villain is evil. So you find out that the bad guy committed all of these things because they have untreated schizophrenia. Or one of my least favorites, that they have DID. Dissociative Identity Disorder, which used to be called multiple personalities. That's still a really common thriller trope, and it needs to die in my opinion, because people with DID are almost never violent. They are almost always harmless because DID is a reaction to trauma, not to this thing that people just have. Then they have like these evil like personalities that come out and do the murder. There's also somebody turns out to be a sociopath or a psychopath, continuing this idea that anyone who is a sociopath is automatically evil. It also just strikes me as a little bit lazy on the part of people who are writing the thrillers. Can't you come up with a better reason than, oh, they're mentally ill, for someone to have done the crime? Rolling right along with that, though, I have noticed, especially with certain authors, a trend of making the main character have anxiety. It helps the reader wonder, is this main character adequately afraid, or is it just their anxiety? Are they overreacting? But what happens is that the character tends to get reduced to is anxiety. That's their only personality trait, is that they're anxious. And a lot of times these characters are like kind of clueless about their anxiety. They're very new to it, and so like they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what a panic attack is. You know, they've never experienced any of these things before. It just strikes me as a lazy way to prevent your main character from finding out too many things too soon because they're too anxious, or to make them a little bit of an unreliable narrator because the reader is wondering, are they just overreacting because of their anxiety? Hey, speaking of unreliable narrators, that's another one on my list. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike all unreliable narrators. I just think it's done poorly and lazily a lot of the time in the thrillers that I have read. More often than not, what happens is we are in that unreliable narrator's point of view, like often in first person, though not always. And there is no clear reason why that narrator would hide anything from you, the reader. Like, I recently read a thriller about a woman who is imprisoned and she's trying to get a lawyer to represent her. But of course, she's doing the whole, I have to tell you the whole story to get you to want to represent me. but she hides things that would be a cool twist at the end of the story when in the framing device it would make no sense for her not to like lead with this information. So I think again it's a matter of laziness. It's a matter of the author trying to have their cake and eat it too by making the character who is hiding something the viewpoint character but not giving them a good enough reason to hide whatever that is from the reader. The next one on my list is something that I have yet to find a thriller that doesn't have this problem, and that is shallow archetype characters. Thrillers rely on sort of the same characters in every single one. Most of the time, all of the characters are kind of unpleasant and don't get along, but none of them are ever terribly deep. Because thrillers are really more about the plot than the characters, this can be a problem for me as a character-loving reader and writer. I sometimes struggle with thrillers because the characters are just there to push the plot along most of the time. By the way, if you hear noises in the background, it's a small house and I'm running my laundry at the other end of the house. The house is small, so it's not actually that far away. Most of the time now when I'm reading a thriller, I know going in that I'm not going to get very satisfying characters, but I still have hope someday of having a thriller where I really care about the characters, because I feel if an author can make these characters feel more whole and more real, then I will care a lot more about them when thrilling stuff starts happening to them. Usually only the main character gets any kind of true characterization. Any other characterization or character work the other characters get will turn out to be in service of the twist or the plot and not really to make them a whole real character. Here's one that you see in horror as well, and that is the animal always dies. If there's an animal, you know it's not long for this world in thriller books as well. And you all know how I feel about that. I am over animals always dying in books, which is why they tend to survive pretty much all the time. Not like 100%, but like 99% in my books the animal's gonna survive. The people, but the animals. And the last one on my list is the only ally turns out to be evil. Remember how I mentioned that a lot of characters tend to be unpleasant? Well, oftentimes the main character who is struggling through this situation, whatever it is, will manage to make themselves at least one ally. One person who's not as much of a jackass as the others. Sometimes it's a romantic interest, sometimes it's just a friend. But inevitably, you know you cannot get attached to that character because they're gonna turn out to be bad. They're gonna turn out to either be the main villain or part of the twist. They're hiding some deep dark secret and you're not gonna like them very much by the end. That's frustrating. Consider if you're writing a thriller having multiple ally characters, so if you want to use one for the twist, you're not taking away the only ally that the reader and the main character have, or really throwing a monkey wrench in it and having the ally character actually just be a good person. No one will see that coming, I'm not kidding. Because it is such an overused and common trope in thriller, I now know to look out for that ally character and know that they are up to no good, and that can kind of ruin the fun of trying to figure out what's going on in the thriller. Of course, if that's a trope you like, if you are trash for ally turns out to be bad guy, going into a thriller knowing that, you're like, yes, I am definitely going to get some of my favorite trope. But those are all the tropes and thrillers that I hate. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed getting comfy with me here in my house. On this dad chair that my husband got, it's very comfortable. Dad vibes all around. Very Ellie and Carl from Up situation. If you, like me, like some thrillers and some fantasy, you can check out my self-published book, The Wolf and the Hawk, which is a fantasy romance. It's a romance with a plot, so if you like a little kissing and a little killing, this might be the book for you. Plus, the sequel will be coming out sometime. I'm hoping early 2022. Fingers crossed. If you can't get enough of me, there are more videos here on this channel. Like I mentioned, there's not one, but 2 videos talking all about fantasy tropes that I hate, so go check those out. I'll try to remember to link you in the doobly-doo. Otherwise, there's a ton of stuff here on this channel. I've been doing this for a really long time. And if you still can't get enough of me, you can support me over on Patreon, where all your donations go towards helping me publish my own books, because it's expensive. And all the links to my social media are where? In the doobly-doo, you got it right. Keep an eye here on my channel and on my Twitter because sometimes I post polls and ask questions that will turn into videos themselves. And I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye! You have no idea how challenging it is to be holding a pen and not just the entire time. I hope you appreciate my restraint, my self-discipline.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Steve, Kit, Hidden Glade, Persephone, Light Julie, OS, Anna, Belle, Patrick, and Sophie, Callison, Artemis, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Irene, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, Sarah, Lennox, and Merween. Before we go, I just wanted to give a special shout out to longtime patron Scribbling Cat, who, when they became a patron, did not have any or very many videos on their channel, but now they have a bunch of cool bookish videos to go check out, including a read-along of the Cyborg Tinkerer. So if you are like between my read-alongs and you need something to go check out, highly recommend Chef's Kiss. Go check out their channel. Will be linked in the doobly-doo. They say I'm a dangerous man. Better run fast as you can. Don't you look back. Every bone in my body's bad. Fire burning, the skies are turning black. They say I'm a dangerous man.